is the Dublin Special Master.
Live and direct.
Breakfast with CubCamTV.
Trickstar Radio.
Good morning, my friends. Welcome back to Breakfast with Kovu here on Trickstar Radio. Right about now, we are jumping into a very special interview indeed. I'm really excited to get into this one. Obviously, on this channel, we love to get through loads of different interviews, obviously with musicians, creatives in general, and we are slowly but surely spreading into the realm of YouTube and especially sport as well. Today, we're getting into a conversation with someone I have the utmost respect for, someone who definitely inspires me in a lot of things I do and definitely inspires a lot of other people working within that sort of YouTube and sporting sphere. A man like Mark Goldbridge, the head of the United Stand, joins us on the channel this morning. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, mate. I'm great. It's great to get you on the line. I've been a long-time listener of the channel and just in general a fan of what you do. First of all, for those that aren't aware, you recently did hit 1 million subs, so massive congratulations to you, first of all.
Oh, thank you very much. Yep, another landmark met, but it's not about that. It's about the interaction and the views for me. I mean, I think you can have 1 million subscribers and no one watches your channel anymore. So
yeah, entirely.
People are watching. That's the big thing.
Entirely, man. I mean, obviously there are a lot of people watching what you do, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for taking the time out of your morning. I know you're very, very busy because you stream every day. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the weekend can be a little bit more relaxed, but yeah, during the week we have a 10 o'clock slot and an 8 o'clock shot, and then if anything happens in between, we'll deal with that as well. Depends on the time of the year, really.
I mean, obviously, with there being so much going on, both in the world of football and just sport in general, obviously, over the course of the Euros, you've been very, very active, because it's not just the United Stand as a channel you run, is it? There are numerous different channels under that Mark Goldbridge empire.
Yeah, so we've got That's Football, which is also on YouTube, which we've basically done every Euros game as a sort of watch along is what we do, where we just open up a community and talk about the game, and then morning shows talking about that alongside everything else. So it's been a hectic month, but it's been a fantastic month because it's just, I love football. So yeah, obviously the end with England was disappointing, but the journey across the month in football in general, not just England, was I just flew by. It was fantastic.
Definitely, man. And you seem super busy. And obviously, kind of going back to the sort of beginning with yourself, obviously, I feel you may have answered this question 1,000 times. But over the course of this journey, did you ever expect the United Stand to grow into the behemoth of a platform that it's now become?
Not at all. I mean, it's funny because, I think the bigger you get, the more you're going to get shot at, basically. And I think one of the things that gets thrown at us and other people is that, you're making money out of football, you're making money out of Manchester United, but then you do a That's Football channel, you're making, it's just, I suppose it's bitterness and jealousy. But when I first started it was one show a week on a Sunday night at 9 o'clock. On YouTube, on the most basic sort of live chats thing you could ever imagine. And we didn't even turn monetization on for about 18 months because I didn't really know what it was. So the whole premise of starting it was just, I just got so fed up of forums, where you're typing away and waiting an hour for someone to reply. And this was like, oh my God, this technology's there to be interactive. And yeah, so I had no concept. It was just a part-time, it was just a bit of a hobby thing at the start. Yeah, definitely.
And then it's grown into this essentially worldwide platform. I mean, if I go onto YouTube now and I go into what's trending, near enough every single day, I see either a United Stand video or a Mark Goldbridge video in there. Do you ever kind of look at it and go, wow, how has this happened?
Well, definitely. I think, it's if everybody thought or could deliver those sort of results, then, I think life would be pretty dull, really. It'd be quite robotic. I think I'm a big fan of Only Fools and Horses and He Who Dares Wins, but to actually achieve what you've just said there and, realise that you're just a normal person who gets up and is moody in the morning in the shower and has the same things as everybody else, but appeals to a lot of people. I feel very lucky and certainly appreciate that situation because I do understand that the way the world works, there's not really a formula for it. Some people do get breakthroughs and some people don't.
Definitely, mate. And I think the thing is with when you look at the United Stand, the work rate is very clearly there. It's not as if you're kind of resting on your laurels. You're constantly looking into new areas, new sort of scenarios and new sort of things to kind of discuss and break down more than anything else. What does an average day for you kind of look like when you look into that, I suppose, in a kind of working day behind Mark Goldbridge? How does that look for you?
Well, I mean, look, I've done previous jobs in my past, and you might be up at 6 o'clock in the morning and finishing at 5 o'clock, and that's not what my day is now. I mean, I have got kids, and obviously COVID sort of forced everyone to be working from home. So a typical day for me would be probably starting around now, really, where I'm, just looking at the show for the morning show, having breakfast, looking at news, taking notes, and then 10 o'clock show. Then between sort of 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock, it would just be admin and stuff like that, unless anything happens. And then sort of early evening, kids get home from school, have a bit of tea, and take them to sports clubs and stuff. And then again at 7 o'clock, it's just having a look for the 8 o'clock show, and then you're done by 9 o'clock. So you never really. I suppose the closest thing is probably it's a bit like being a journalist. You're never really off work, because if at 10 o'clock at night or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's a medical for a United player or something like that, you've got to react to that. But there are down times, and I think different times of the years, like the Euros and the transfer window, and then when there's games on, they're always, you can predict that's going to be busy, but the rest of it, you just got to grab it where you can. Holidays are never easy to book, or can you go to this wedding or anything like that? Because it's always dependent on fixtures, etc.
Entirely. I mean, it's such a, I suppose, niche kind of area. And the reason I was so excited to talk to you this morning is, I suppose, to an extent, you have kind of carved out a very unique kind of, again, journalistic lifestyle in the way that you are able to kind of look around what's going on in football and kind of, I suppose, pass comment on it and bring other people into the conversation. I was looking through some of the interviews recently on the channel. And obviously, you are interacting with some of the biggest journalists in the world. Obviously, Fabrizio Romano being one that you seem to have regular conversations with. How does that kind of work? Like, are you in constant communication with these sort of top heads?
I mean, I think I've been doing this like this for probably, I lose track, maybe 6-7 years. And again, this is another area people don't want to give credit to, because it's like, what do they know? What do they know? But to be honest with you, what I can say is that some people I speak to, it's quite open, and people know who they are. And then some of it has to be protected, like it does in any industry when you're getting information. So, and that can be with clubs, that can be with, journalists, that can be with, players and coaches within the game, not necessarily to do with United. So you do build up relationships and trust, and that's where you get a lot of your information. But also a lot of it's just opinion. I think opinion's a strong thing as well. You can look at a story and give a spin on it 10 different ways. So I think that what we do is multifaceted, really. Yeah, you do get your info, but also a lot of the info's out there already, and you can spin that into however you want. And when I say spin, you can have a different opinion on it to the actual piece, and you can use evidence as yourself as a football fan in relation to what's happened at, say, United over the last few years. So we're never short of content, but yeah, you do definitely build up networks of people that you can trust and who will trust you over the years, definitely.
100%. And I think something that's always kind of grasped my attention when we look at the United stand almost as an online presence, and obviously yourself as well, is that you are so active on the socials to the point where we're seeing almost like daily viral clips of yourself kind of reacting to live games and reacting to news happening all the time. Like, how do you stay so on top of everything? Because it seems like there's such a kind of mountain of admin to get through.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've got a great team behind me. I mean, the one of the great things about what we do is the graphics and the socials and everything like that. I initially would have done a lot of that, but from a very early stage, we brought people in who are part of the United Stand as much as I am, and the wider project, who do like all the visuals and things like that, and the social media, like United Stand Twitter account. I don't think I've been on that in probably 3 years. So you do have people who are, the bigger you get, you have to, because it's not even about a financial thing. It's about a workload thing. It's impossible to update every social media account you've got to the extent that we do, and clip everything up. And also, I think that would be quite big-headed to be sat there doing a video and then I must finish and clip off what I think great. You need somebody to be pragmatic and look at that away from me. My ideal is just to be in front of the camera. I've said this a few times over the last year. I'm a creative who had to be a bit of a sort of owner or admin person, because there's nobody else to do that. But the bigger we get, the more you can get people in to do that, and then focus more on what you want to do, which is be in front of the camera or doing stuff like this.
100%. Yeah, I mean, something that I saw go viral quite recently that it did catch me. I've shown it to a few people. It's the sort of thing that does just kind of put a smile on your face. Obviously, in the semi-final, we saw Kane, obviously the penalty was saved, and then he puts in the rebound. One of the funniest things I think I've seen on the sort of reactions is the fact you almost like spin around, and then by the time you spun back around, the reaction completely changes. Like, how often do you find yourself in those situations where the reactions kind of just take a hold of you?
Well, it's one of the things I get asked a lot, because I think a lot of people see you, and obviously I'm sure you get it as well, like when you're doing something like this, people enjoy it, and then they start thinking, I would like to do that. So one of the things I always say is that you just can't ever script this. I mean, when I started, my sort of personality is I like analogies. I've always done it. And then nobody was doing that, and now everyone's doing it. And I can see it a mile off that people are just, they're trying to take the formula, which we see in TV and radio and everything all the time. People try and, interpret a winning formula. I just be myself, and, that can flip both ways. But like with that penalty, I don't know why. I think because I'd seen penalty shootouts, I was like, I don't know why. I watched the ball half. I just thought, because he's missed it, that's it, he's missed it. I totally forgot the concept that this was not a penalty shootout and that you could follow it in. So I'd spin away, like just ready to lose my temper, really, and then turn around and they're all on the floor. So I was like, oh yeah, that can happen. You could never. I think it goes back to what I was going to say. Is you should always be yourself, and if yourself isn't good enough, then don't be something that you're not, and that's probably a life lesson in itself. So, as I said, it's just fortunate for me, and some people who do make it, that something you tick all the boxes and people like it. And I think the minute you start overthinking it is when you're going to struggle, because there's loads of things I could do to try and make things go viral, but I just find that actually just be yourself, and those moments will come, whether it's every month or every few months or every year or whatever.
100%, mate. And I keep saying 100% this morning because it's so interesting that I'm in so much agreement with a lot of the things you're saying. It definitely seems like you've got well, it's very obvious you've got the formula kind of down, and it's great to kind of hear, I suppose, the confidence with which you kind of push all this stuff forward. And on a similar kind of topic, discussing pushing forward, what's the kind of future looking like for the United Stand? Because I know you're very busy, obviously, preparing for the new season. What can we expect in the near future from you guys?
I think we're always looking to push boundaries, and I think one of the things we've been looking at over the last few weeks is because it seems to be every summer we get rocked by some big news, like somebody's leaving or whatever, which is part of the industry. I mean, people want to read into that what they want, but there's always going to be change. I mean, it's ironic in football because every summer there's a transfer window, and so we're always looking to innovate, and I think we've got some ideas around that, and we're always looking to bring people in who are talented, and certainly around matches and games, because I think that I've always had an uncomfortable relationship with fan cams, because having been there on the ground, I think it's very scripted and very X Factor style. And does anyone really want to stand there and be calmly talk about tactics, or is it better for them to just shout and scream? And so I think we're looking to innovate around United Stand, but it does become harder with every year because it's it's massive, and it's like it does. It's a bit like being on a hamster wheel sometimes, because you know what's coming every single year in relate. You don't know results, but you know the cycle. So it is difficult, and more people come into the market. But and I can't do it forever. I've always said that. But at the moment, I don't feel like the end is anywhere near in sight for my relationship with the United Stand. And certainly beyond that, it's about building something that stands the test of time as well. Because I've never, when the United Stand was invented, I could have just called it Mark Goldbridge Channel. So, it has to be something that can stand away from me at some point, and that's always been the plan.
I mean, it's so interesting to kind of hear you talk through it, and it's great to kind of get a bit of perspective on what's on the way, and obviously hear a little bit of what's going on behind the scenes. Just before we do finish up, because obviously I know you're busy, you're going to be jumping into your first stream of the day in a few minutes. But before we do that, jump into that, I just want to briefly touch on it. Obviously, you had a conversation with Teddy Sheringham a couple of days ago, and obviously the boyhood United fan in you. When I see stuff like that, I go, I have no idea how you're keeping your composure. How was that? Just very briefly. From a fan's perspective, more than anything else.
I think that statement, you should never meet your heroes, it has so many layers to it, and sometimes it's because they're complete arseholes, and sometimes it's because you are just in awe of them. I think with that one, fortunately, I'd met Teddy a few weeks before, and I'm very lucky when I meet people like Teddy Sheringham or Paul Ince or Ryan Giggs, because I'm old enough to remember exactly what happened with them at United and stuff. And I think when you speak to these people from as a fan, but with a bit of knowledge, it sort of breaks the ice a little bit. So yeah, I think the first couple of minutes when you meet these people, it's quite nervy or whatever the word is, but obviously that first couple of minutes is never the first couple of minutes on camera, is it? So by then you know whether you've got a bit of a rapport going, and hopefully that I think anybody you interview, you just hope that they're in the mood for it, because if they are, I think it's just the same as any conversation, isn't it? And then it becomes really enjoyable, because you're talking to an idol, really.
100%, mate. And I won't lie, I've had a similar feeling coming into this one this morning. Obviously, I watch the channel every day, and it's great to have you on. Thank you for taking the time out of your morning, first of all.
No, I appreciate it. I've enjoyed it.
It's great having you on, man. So just before we do round up then, for those that aren't aware or maybe aren't following specific accounts, what is the kind of best way for people to follow what you're doing online, kind of outside of the YouTube channel?
Yeah, so at Mark Goldbridge on Twitter is probably my most active thing. I think it's at Goldbridge Mark on Instagram. And most of what I do is on YouTube. But yeah, Twitter's the place where I tend to update with people what I'm doing.
Awesome, man. Well, I tell you what, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm very, very thankful for getting you on the show this morning. We'll keep up to date with everything that's going on over at the United Stand, and obviously across all of your platforms in general. Guys, it's been an absolutely fantastic morning so far, and we are going to move on to our final section of the show. This morning, we're going to get into our Zambian showcase. Loads of musicians from Zambia do tend to send music over to this show, and right about now, we're going to jump into that. Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll chat soon, okay?
Thank you. Take care.
This is Breakfast with KXVU, bringing you their morning flavours on Trickstar Radio.
Trickstar Radio.